Powered by Riverside.
That's too bad. You are now watching or listening to the That's Too Bad podcast, hosted by Wally Wallaceck. All right, what's going on, everybody? Wally Wallaceck here. That's Too Bad podcast. It's been quite a bit of time since we've chatted last. Happy New Year to those. It's now 2025. We have the new PGA season that has kicked off so far. We have the Live 2025 season about to kick off here in about a week or two. And a lot of stuff has just happened since the last time we've chatted over the last really couple months in general. Let's just kind of go back a little bit here. The PGA started, about 3-4 weeks ago in 2025 season, starting off with the Century out in, Hawaii on the Plantation course here. And we saw record-setting scoring by Hideki Matsuyama, a guy who uh, always up at the top when it comes to the leaderboard, especially during the majors. We've seen him obviously win the Masters a few years back. Guy that we also saw play extremely well in the President's Cup this past fall. And so no surprise here to see Matsuyama not only be at the top of the leaderboard here, but win the tournament. But he won it in quite fashion, breaking the uh, scoring record for a tournament, shooting 35 under, and that's just incredible. Now I got to watch some of the tournament, not all of the tournament, but everybody there was scoring. It's one of those where it's like, I think I talked about it last year. There was you heard people chattering and blowing up Twitter or X or whatever that they didn't like how high the scoring was, and it might have been, what is it, PGA or the U.S. Open, one of the two. And people criticize that's not what the majors are about. That's not golf. Where I disagreed, for me it didn't matter what the scoring, how high or low it is, as long as it's competitive, meaning there's more than one or two guys in the race to win the tournament. And we saw that here in the Plantation right out the gate. It really did come down to probably three golfers towards mid Sunday, the final round here. Morikawa, I said it last year. His putting has held him back from some wins, and again, it held him back here at the Century. He finished second, 32 under, so very impressive, but not good enough, obviously. And then someone that I really think is going to break out and win a major, if not this year, I think in the next year or two, is Sanjay M. Another guy that played extremely well in the President's Cup, and he's played really well over the last 3, 4, 5 seasons. It's just getting him over that hump. The hump that Ricky Fowler is facing, the one Tony Finau is facing, the one that Sergio Garcia faced at one time for a long time, and that's when the first major. Sanjay M's got the tools to get it done. So we'll see what this season brings for him. Finished third, 29 under towards that Sunday round. More on the backside. It was just gave himself opportunities, but just the putts could not drop. And at the end of the day, when Matsuyama's putter's on fire, there really is no stopping that guy. And that was what I thought, really separated him when he won the Masters a few years back. And here we are. He's kicking off 2025 in that same fashion. Oddly, though, what's for me, I've always considered Matsuyama a pretty decent putter on tour. And we heard all the commotion last year throughout the year. He kept changing different putters. And we see him, he's changed his putter again this year, still sticking with a Scotty Cameron putter, but not the more traditional putter that we're known to see him with. He's now got the center shafted putter, more of a classic old school look. And I think that's really, because you're seeing now all the tour players go to lab, or now Odyssey has come out with the center shafted, the well balanced face putter face style. And so I think that's what Hideki was trying to accomplish here with the putter, and whether that's the case or not, he accomplished it extremely well by absolutely obliterating the tournament over at the Plantation course. Again, the course did not play extremely tough, in my opinion, except for the greens. The greens were extremely, very extremely sloped. So it depended where you were hitting hitting your approach shot, or if you're chipping. If you were not strategic, your ball would probably take one of the slopes and roll off the green. I saw it a couple times with Morikawa. So it was just one of those. But I mean, off the tee, you could blast the ball away and let that ball roll down, 350, 400 yards. It seemed like on some shots, and the course conditions obviously were not terrible either. I mean, it wasn't overly windy from what I saw on the Sunday round. I don't really recall what the rest, the early rounds were Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But I mean, overall, it was a good start to the year for obviously Matsuyama and some of these other guys here. I mean, we're not going to go into each tournament here, one by one. Just going to rattle off the last couple here. Now, the Sony Open, we saw Nick Taylor winning a playoff. If we all remember, Nick Taylor won in a playoff last year, or maybe it was 2 years ago. I can't remember. Sepp Straka, recently a winner here, 25 under at the Pete Dye Stadium course here. And then most recently this past weekend over at Torrey Pines, Harris English, who didn't play extremely well on Sunday, but well enough, edges out Sam Stevens and takes it at Torrey Pines. And so after Harris English wins this tournament, I jumped on X, kind of scrolling to see what what people were saying, and really more about the course because the conditions were pretty extreme as far as how windy it was. I got to catch a couple highlights here and there Sunday, or I'm sorry, Saturday, because this was finished Saturday due to, I'm sure, because of football on Sunday. And a lot of people are criticizing the early schedule, the early part of the schedule for the PGA. And the complaints that I saw from just random fans, obviously, on X is they don't like the fact that the big names are not playing right now. Here's my take on that. The big names are never gonna be all in the same tournament. Um, Probably in January. I'll just say it that, just in the month of January. Um, I don't know, but I'm gonna assume that's because a lot of those guys are not gonna need the FedEx points that quickly. They're gonna jump up there because they're anticipating winning majors or at least being in the top 5, top 10, so so to speak, for the majors and the bigger tournaments here, where they're going to accumulate those FedEx points at a larger scale and not have to worry so much about that. Versus where a lot of these guys here playing right now, bigger names, not the biggest. Not all the superstars are playing. These are guys that are fighting for FedEx points, and they're really fighting for their tour cards. I mean, some of these guys are Corn Ferry guys trying to make a name for themselves, get their tour card. Others are guys that just got their tour card, obviously from last year's Corn Ferry season, and trying to make a name for himself. And that's really how this happens, right? I mean, Justin Thomas did not just come out of the woodworks here and all of a sudden became a superstar overnight. Obviously, a great player, very young, but he at some point early in his career is playing a lot of tournaments and he was winning at the time too. And not just him. I mean, Jordan Spieth, Dustin Johnson. You rattle off the names. It's the same story, different golfer. So it's and this isn't new either. So why a lot of these people are blowing up on X complaining about this, it don't know. It just doesn't make sense. This isn't like anything, new here. Realistically, too, a lot of these guys won't all be together. Usually, it's around the waste management time, and then that's really when in my opinion, the season really kicks off. Once we get to waste management, the People's Open. Um, what's coming next is obviously the Masters, the Players. It's and then season's in full swing there. Um, so yeah, that's just my little take there on what I was reading on X the other day as far as people complaining about this. The other thing too is like there's so many great courses obviously out west, and thoughts and prayers with obviously the people that are suffering from the California fires and now more recently the mudslides is you know s- we won't see those courses obviously as much in Hawaii, like the Plantation course. I mean, Torrey Pines has hosted obviously big tournaments, not just these small tournaments early in the year, right? But there's just it's the tour is just trying to make its rounds every year. They start out as far west as possible, which is obviously Hawaii, and we work our way through California to and then we start kind of jumping around. Once we kind of get past Arizona, with the waste management. That's just how it's been every year going back. I don't even know how long since I can remember. So again, nothing new here. It's cool to see too. So, if you're in my opinion, if you're a true golf fan, um, it's cool to see some, the guys from the Corn Ferry Tour and some of these, not so big names that are making their way up here. I mean, once upon a time, Joel Damon is one of these guys. Now look at him, one of the bigger names. He'll never admit it, but definitely just because probably he's never won a major or anything. But he's one of the biggest names right now in golf, for how likable he is with the fan base and how he relates with the fan base. And he started, that was where he started. I mean, so we're gonna see the next Joel Namath. If he's not there right now, he's making his way up here. Same with like the Harry Higgs, who was back in Corn Ferry last year because he had a down year and made his way back and earned his tour card again. So we'll see what happens with him. Just a lot of different guys are out here battling to make a name for themselves, to be the next Rory McIlroy or the Jordan Spieth, like I said. So that's just my kind of take on that. I want to circle back though a little bit to kind of like Hideki. As I was watching the tournament on Sunday a few weeks back, again, I might kind of do this throughout the year, kind of like highlight a player and kind of just go over what my personal opinion. What do I see in this player? What do I expect throughout the season? And Hideki's always been a great player, at all levels here. Whether it was the Olympics, like I said, the majors, and some of these smaller tournaments, he always plays at a very high level here. Um, and again, the whole putting fiasco, or I don't want to say fiasco, but the putting yips, he must have thought he had last year with all the putter changes, not putting stroke, but the physical putter he kept pulling in out of his bag to find the right one, and the guy still wins, which is incredible because he's a great ball striker. Um, if we remember early on and when he first came on the tour, he had that long pause up at the top of a swing, and then would just blast away. We don't see that too much as anymore. It's very slight, if anything, uh, but the ball striking's still there. And what's comical about watching him, throughout tournaments is that he, when he reacts to what he believes is a bad shot, always ends up being a phenomenal shot. Though, except for I don't know if it. I don't think it was at I don't think it was at the tournament he won, being the Century. I think it was the following week at the Sony Open where he did one of his patented one-handed releases, but then released the other hand, and the club I think hit a spectator because he thought it was a bad shot. So don't know if we'll see too much of the helicopter twirl swings out of him moving forward here. But a guy that's always again been a great ball striker. He's been a phenomenal putter in my opinion, and I think that it really continues throughout this year. I mean, based on how he started so far. And if you look back to when he won the Masters, um, he was up there in the putting performance. I think tied fourth, fifth in strokes gained on putting. When you're in Augusta too, that's really going to be the name of the game. If you're not going to hit the green and make putts, I don't see how you're going to put on the green jacket Sunday evening. And Hideki is one of those guys that obviously did that. With that being said, do I think Hideki wins a major this year? No, but I do think he's going to contend at majority of the majors. I could see him making a run this year at Augusta. With that being said, do I think Scotty Scheffler's going to win the Masters again this year and go for three in a row? I don't think so. I normally wouldn't have bet. I would never, and I don't think I did bet on him to win it last year either, because I'm not a guy that usually will bet back-to-back winners like that. I mean, even when Brooks Koepka won the U.S., I stay away from that. So when it happens, it happens. I'm out $5 on DraftKings, whatever. Um, do I think Scotty's going to do it again though this year? Like I said, I don't think so. I mean, I expect Scotty to do Scotty things, and that's going to be he's going to put on a great show. He's going to play his ass off, and he's going to be up there, not just in the Masters, but in majority of the majors this year. And that's just Scotty being Scotty. This guy goes, 0 to 60 in a tournament, no matter what the tournament is. But with that being said, the pick that I've really have liked, that I'm kind of going with in the Masters is, I really think Ludwig Oberg's going to win. He's my pick this year, where I think also Tom Kim and Tommy Fleetwood will be right behind him. If I'm going to be more conservative and pick three guys, it would be those three guys where, like I said, too, that Scotty, I think, will finish in the top 10. Um, I don't think Rory McIlroy finishes in the top 10 in the Masters this year. And that's not me not being a Rory fan. I've always liked how Rory's played throughout his career. It's just he does not perform well at Augusta for whatever reason. Historically, it's just not been a good turn. And that's the one he needs to complete the career Grand Slam. Again, do I think he does it in 2025? Unfortunately, I don't think so. It'd be interesting, and it will shock me if he proves me wrong. Don't get, but I just don't see it. And people might think, how come Wally's not favoring a live guy here? I mean, historically, if you look back at last year, I don't remember John Rahm playing extremely well, at least on the final day. Historically, we've seen Koepka kind of fall apart. The most memorable one is obviously in 2019, I believe, when Tiger won. I mean, Koepka was up there, Finau was up there, I think Molinari was up there, and all three of them just fell apart at the end where Tiger ended up winning. And this is a course where I don't think it favors Bryson and his power and length. A guy that can, I mean, don't get me wrong, he could definitely use his power and length as an advantage at Augusta with, guys that will be hitting driver. He might be hitting 3-iron, 4-iron, for all I know, pitching wedge that goes 280 yards. I don't know. Uh, the last couple years when Bryson's at Augusta, it doesn't seem like he's got the greatest control around the greens with his wedges. Now, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I was probably the one saying to people Bryson's probably one of the worst wedge players ever, and that's because I just didn't agree with his philosophy on his wedges being the same length as his 7-iron because that's how all his clubs are. Uh, I just didn't think he had a feel for it. Now he's definitely have proven me wrong over the last year or two, and obviously he's always been an extremely great putter. It's not a course that though I see Bryson um, managing the course extremely well in his advantage to win that. He's got the capability, but I just think there's sometimes he thinks and wants to drive the green on short par fours where it's just not necessary to do so, and I think sometimes it bites him in the rear. Not all the time, but some of the times, but those times it does cost him. So we'll see what happens. I mean, the reason I'm picking Oberg and Kim is, I mean, Oberg, comes out of nowhere last year. Again, a no-namer, like we're talking about earlier here, and just blows up at the Masters, playing phenomenal all 4 days. And, it really was the closest to Scotty. There was no one that was going to catch Scotty going to Sunday. It was basically already won before Scotty tees off here. But Oberg played out of his mind and really throughout the whole year. And before that Masters, it was really because he played extremely well in the Ryder Cup. And I've just liked how this guy's played for the better part now of a year and a half. He's got such a smooth and effortless swing. It's sometimes not fair watching him swing a club. And I think he's going to, I think he's, again, because he's younger, he's only been on tour now for a year, but he's so in my opinion, I think he's an underrated putter because that's how young he is. One of the top putters though this year is what I'm going to predict that's going to carry him into winning the Masters. And then Tom Kim is just downright baller. I mean, the guy freaking fights for every inch to make a putt, and his energy is unbeatable right now. And if we saw him in the President's Cup, this guy this guy comes to win. Even if you watched tonight, TGL, which we're going to get into here in a little bit, this guy energy in simulator golf is like him winning the U.S. Open. So it's hard not to root for a guy like that, and he's a phenomenal golfer too. This guy has shown that he is ready for the big moments. I mean, we've seen now two Presidents Cups where, especially his first one, where he was kind of a no-namer, young kid, and he kind of took the team on his shoulders, to not be completely embarrassed by Team USA, making big putts, trying to keep them in the match as long as. And then we saw this past fall, uh, him and Si Woo Kim were, I think, probably the top two golfers in the whole Presidents Cup, even though they were the losing team. Those guys just played their asses off and really kept the international team in it. So that's kind of where I'm at here on the Masters. If we're kind of going down real quickly, the PGA is going to be at Quail Hollow this year. This is where I think Rory ends his majors drought and gets his fifth major here. Guys played it historically well at Quail Hollows. U.S. Open here is I went with a live guy. I like Koepka, and I have a dark horse in Tony Finau. And I'm picking Tony Finau probably more with my heart because I'm just waiting for him or Ricky to win a major for finally here. 9 years ago, DJ wins it, and but I don't see. Here's the thing: I don't see DJ being a contender really in majors too much more in his career. I think he's comfortable what he's doing at over at Live. I don't think he really had a phenomenal season last year with Liv. I know, I mean, the first year Liv, I believe he won the whole year, as the individual, if I'm kind of looking here real quickly. But overall, I don't think his, I don't think he overall had a successful season. And yeah, here it is 2022. Where he kind of dominated the points, and then his team obviously won. I just think a lot of his good years are kind of behind him, unfortunately. But again, I think he's doing big things over at Live, being one of the bigger ambassador names there. So we'll see what happens though throughout this season. And then the Open is at Royal Portrush this year, and this is where I think Tommy Fleetwood gets it done if he doesn't get it done at Augusta. Another sleeper pick here for me will be Ricky Fowler. Like I said a minute ago, that's more probably pick it with my heart here. But Rory has played well there at Royal Portrush before, so there is plausibility that he could finally do it. Will he? I guess we'll find out. Okay, so I brought up the TGL here just a second ago, so let's kind of talk about it. So, for the people that don't know, TGL is the simulator league hosted on ESPN, created by Tiger and Rory, and it's basically a full-blown X golf on steroids in a mini stadium, the SoFi Arena. But what's different, obviously, than you going to your local simulator, wherever you're from, is that these guys are hitting off just from when they tee it up into their screen. They're hitting off real grass, hitting off real rough if their ball ends up in the rough, and hitting real out of real sand if it's in the fairway sand. Okay, so I can move that out of here. And then the screen is like 35 feet tall or something like that. It's a giant ass screen. Some you go to like movie theater and they're hitting into, and actually they have technically six stations to hit from. So they start off further back, hitting obviously from the fairway cut. They have a rough cut and then obviously a fairway bunker. But then I think within a certain yardage of the green, might be like 150 and in or maybe less, they get to go to the front grass and then hit from there into the screen. And then I think it's like 50 yards and in, they go behind, and if you people don't know, there's a actual putting green behind them with a real bunker. Now the green is artificial, and what it does is it rotates, and there's a computer operator of some sort, I'm guessing, who will configure the green in the slopes and then change where the pin is, etc. So based on the hole that they're on, they will modify the green before the players eventually walk behind whatever it is, 20, 30 steps to come putt and chip. But if they don't make the green 50 yards and in, they turn around and they chip onto the actual green here off turf. Like I said, unless they're in the bunker, which is actual sand next to the green. So that's like just a generic, as I can simplify it, the setup for TGL. What is it? They're not playing a full 18 holes here. If I go to the format here, I don't want to screw this up here, so I'm kind of looking at their website. So they play 15 holes. Holes 1 through 9, 3 players on the team compete in an alternate shot format. Which teams determining who will hit first, second, and third before the match even starts. Then 10 through 15, each player plays 2 holes head-to-head against the opposing team's players. Players 1 will obviously, or let's say, player 1 plays holes 10 and 13 player 2 will play 11 and 14, and 3 will play 12 and 50. So it kind of alternates, so they're not playing back to back. And so it's an interesting format. Obviously, I think it's probably to be, I'm going to assume it's also like a time thing why they're doing that, 15 holes, and they're doing this kind of stuff because, again, they're going to an actual putting green too at some after they hit. So that takes a little bit more time than, putting into a screen like you do at your local X Golf or simulator golf here. These guys do are on a shot clock here, which I think and should be implemented in real golf because the biggest complaint, really going back now 5+ years, is pace of play. At least at the PGA level, I don't think you're going to get as much at the live level because it's a shotgun start here. But so the shot clock, it's 40 seconds, and if you've ever watched, they have what they call like the heartbeat. So you just kind of go boom, 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 or whatever at like 14 or 15 seconds, and that kind of picks up the pace, the heart beating, until it gets to 1. I haven't seen anybody, I think, get beat by the shot clock. I think one team so far that I've seen maybe has gotten close and called the timeout or something. That's the other thing. These teams do have timeouts here based on this. They got four timeouts per match if they want to address the ball or whatever. They do have this called the hammer, and I'm just going to read it verbatim so it doesn't confuse anybody. At any point during play, the team can throw a hammer to add 1 point to a hole's value. If the opposing team declines to accept the hammer, they forfeit the hole. There's only one hammer per match, and the only team possessing it can use it with possession alternating after each use. So I remember first match with Tiger, I think he threw it like on the first hole, second right away. If you watched it with the Xander, that he just kept telling whoever throw the hammer, being that confident. And then if you got to see today, Boston versus Jupiter, we saw the first overtime match, which was what they consider like the penalty kicks of golf, where it's a closest to pin from about 50 yards. Then it alternates. So like Jupiter went first, or no, I think Boston went first, then Jupiter. And it's a best of 3. And then there's a referee on site, kind of determining any type of issues, questions. But I mean, at the end of the day, too, it's similar to your simulator golf. As soon as they hit, these guys go to these big screens, I guess on what you'll call like their bench, and it's, they're sliding and pointing and moving, getting yardages, etc. I think each team does get one caddy to kind of like help them with questions or referencing and anything like that. But yeah, I mean, it's just a fun concept that Tiger and Rory put together. I think the misconception, and I tweeted this out a couple weeks ago, I think after the first tournament, so to speak, is I feel like people are thinking this is Rory and Tiger's way of trying to blend this into the PGA schedule, and then, or even compete with the PGA, and it's just far from it. This is a side thing that the PGA players that Rory and Tiger have selected and invited so far to partake in this. It's just something fun. I mean, they're not getting FedEx points from this. I'm sure they're getting paid in some fashion here, whether it's through sponsors or from the actual league with Tiger and Rory. But this isn't like we're replacing tournaments with the TGL tournament here. So what's cool about this, it's watching these guys in a format and style that we, as just regular Joes off the street who are, especially in the wintertime here, going to indoor facilities to swing our clubs, see them in that element. the way I was kind of describing it to somebody was it's like the equivalent of just watching these guys. All of a sudden, your favorite athletes join a bowling league. Um, it's competitive. These guys don't like to lose, which is fun to see. Like they're not there just swinging and like whatever, fuck this. They are actually trying to beat each other, and they're actually when they're on the green, they're studying the green where the breaks are and stuff. Like they want to make the putts, and they want to beat each other. It's probably because they're all close friends too, and it's just bragging rights for them. But on the flip side, it's like you get to see these guys in a not serious atmosphere. I mean, there's music like live, so it's like all the PGA guys or people that fans, I should say, that criticize live for all the music and crap that's going on during the tournaments. If you're watching TGL, you got nothing to say now. um, there's music, there's fans that are just kind of cheering and whatnot throughout the whole thing. I mean, I wouldn't call it like no Ryder Cup style or cheering or anything, but there's something. Um, so yeah, I mean, I just it's different, and I know there's hardcore golf fans out there that hate the word different. They want to see the classic tournaments. They want to see the three letters PGA next to the name. They want to see the four majors, Ryder Cup, and call it a day. And I mean, hey, I'm with you. I love all that. But I don't oppose live anymore. I think I did early, like the first year that they might have done it. But like I mentioned a while back on one of my episodes, I was at Live Bolingbrook here in Illinois, and was a fun tournament to be a part of. So I mean, what TGL is, it's different. It's different, but it's also like we as fans can, like sympathize with simulator golf. Like Tiger Woods, I think what was it, a couple weeks ago, hits a wedge and just blew it over the green, and he just kind of laughed it off. And if this was him at Augusta, would have been pissed, stone face, whatever. I mean, he's over there laughing and just going, "I've never hit a wedge 130 some yards." Um, so it's stuff that we go through. You go to simulator golf, and all of a sudden, guy hits it 350 yards. So come June, first time they get out there in warm weather, and the ball doesn't go 350 yards, they're gonna be like, "What the hell?" Simulator says it went 350, so it should go 350. Uh, take the simulator with a grain of salt is what I would say there. Uh, so yeah, the format is obviously different. It's just cool. It'll be fun to watch the rest of the season. I don't know how long this is supposed to really go for, schedule wise. What they're aiming for. I'm curious if they're going to eventually invite live guys to this, because I think Terrell Hatton was supposed to be a part of this until he went to live, because this was in place a few years back, and then they've been postponed due to different things, and now it's finally taken off. But like Terrell Hatton not being a part of it because he's now on live. Again, was that a good move by Rory and Tiger? I don't think so, because if we're in this world of we're trying to merge these two together, and you guys being Tiger Woods and Rory, keep the live guys out of stuff like this, stuff that's not even really meaningful when it comes to the actual schedule. It's like, what the hell are we doing here? Why? These guys are buddies. It's not like they're not talking anymore or anything like that. So it's like, why did we? And this is not being sanctioned by the PGA, to my knowledge. PGA is not, to my knowledge, funding this. At least I don't think they are. Um, or no, I take that back. I'm just reading it now. It is a partnership with the PGA Tour. So okay, well, that'll answer my question as far as why the live guys are not on here. So I guess that just puts more pressure on the two finally merging, so that we can get live guys into this, because it would be cool to have, DeChambeau, DJ. get Phil. Ian Poulter would be fun to have here with, how much shit talking he could probably do. A lot of different guys that are on Live Tour right now that we don't get to see on a daily basis. Again, I guess this is now going to come down to PGA and Live merging, which kind of brings me to like my next topic here is, we've seen now in the last couple months two big things come out of Live as far as news. First is being and this is first not in chronological order here because I don't remember which happened first, actually, to be honest with you. But the first being is Live is now a part of Fox Sports and will be debuting on Fox Sports instead of the CW network. I don't know if they're still going to be on the CW, but I do know now they will be, I think officially this year, moving to Fox Sports, which is a big move for them. And then the other big news is, and this is actually giant news, is the fact that Greg Norman is stepping down as the CEO of Live Golf, being replaced by Scott O'Neill. I think Greg wasn't going to be in the seat long term. I don't think he ever had any type of aspirations of being in that seat long term. I think he wanted to only be in the seat to get it off the floor, which he did greatly. And now to where it's at, I think he's comfortable kind of taking a step back. From what I've read, he's going to be more of an advisory. I think still kind of like the face a little bit, like is when he's at tournaments and walking around, kind of being one of the founding members slash guy that really generated. But he's not going to be making a lot of decisions anymore. So people will probably asking, hey, who's Scott O'Neill? I actually had to look him up because the name did not sound really familiar, at least right off the gate. This guy's had quite a career, so this is a real good pickup for a good signing for the Live Golf League here, or tour, I should say. So Scott O'Neill, I'm going to read it off here, just some of my notes. Been a sports executive all his career. Started with the New Jersey Nets and the Philadelphia Eagles and just odd jobs throughout the front office. And then 08 to 12 was president of Madison Square Garden Sports. So he was managing, obviously, the Knicks and the Rangers. During that time, both teams performed extremely well, both in the NBA and NHL. So guy did extremely well there. From 13 to 22, so his longest stint, he was the CEO of the Sixers and managed, obviously, the New Jersey Devils because he was the CEO of Harris Blitzer Sports and Entertainment. So he has been in big leadership roles with big organizations throughout his whole career here, and has done extremely well because we've seen what these teams have done over the last, we're talking going back before 2008, so now we're talking 20 plus years now for this guy. So this is I think a good signing for the Live Tour. I think this is the guy that's going to get this finally over the finish line when we talk about merging with the PGA. Again, I think I've talked about it. The reason I think Greg Norman, unfortunately, has been an Achilles heel when it comes to why hasn't this happened yet. I don't fully. I should kind of take a step back here. I don't think he's 100% the Achilles heel. I think some of the stuff he's probably said in the past in relation to the PGA and other things didn't help. But I know he's also been trying to push and get this merged together. I do believe Jay Monahan is an Achilles heel when it comes to this. Guy that's dragging his feet, so to speak, in my opinion. A guy that, my opinion, if we're talking about a new commissioner of the PGA, I think they need to do that. If there was a new commissioner of the PGA and Jay Monahan was no longer in that seat, I 100% believe we have a Live PGA merger signed on the dotted line very quickly. Um, I I could be wrong. I just think Jay Monahan is being a little stubborn. Has really been dragging his feet. Again, Greg Norman in his history with some of the stuff he said in relation to the PGA, it's probably not sits well. And then the biggest one is being a part of the Saudi League, and now we're looking at the political side of it, which I don't feel like getting into at this point. Um, has always obviously been um, a big factor in this. So Scott O'Neill, new CEO of the Live Tour. So we'll see what happens moving forward here with that. But we have, I mean, just quickly, Live is going to kick off their season here. I think the week of the Super Bowl. And what's going to be cool is I'm going to make sure to watch this. Is that Live Golf Ride Redod? I'm probably butchering the shit out of that. They're playing the tournament under the lights, so that will be kind of cool because it's going to be something different. I'm going to use that again, something different. So I don't expect people to really be too enthused in watching that. At least the traditionalist from the PGA. For me, I playing golf under the lights. I've done it once now in my life at a small par three here in Illinois, and it was a lot of fun. And so I fully anticipate it being just a cool atmosphere to watch golf in. So we'll see, what brings for the Live Tour. Obviously, they don't have majors. The majors are standalone tournaments here. So we'll see the Live guys in the majors. Like I said before, I do think we can see. I believe Brooks Koepka might win a major here this year. It's hard to root against a lot of those guys that have the potential. Joaquin Niemann, I've been a huge fan of him for the last few years of him being on both tours. You can't forget about John Rahm. Um, the list. Taylor Gooch, I think, has the capability of winning a major here. And a couple other guys, obviously, on the tour over there. So we'll see what brings in 2025. Lastly here, I want to mention. Here, That's Too Bad podcast, myself, Wally here, has agreed with Acorn Hills Clothing Company to be a future ambassador here for 2025. You can see here I'm repping the hat if you're watching on YouTube here. And so I got to chat with Nate, the founder of Acorn Hills, the guy that reached out to me and brought me along. Just really recently, within the last month or so, of joining the Acorn Hills team here. So here you go. I got to sit with Nate. I got to chat about Acorn Hills, what brought him to golf, and all this stuff here. So take a listen, enjoy, and always remember, let's go low.
What's up, everybody? Wally Wallace, That's Too Bad podcast. I'm pleased to introduce founder of Acorn Hills Co. Joining us on the podcast here, Nate Hryn. Nate, thanks for joining us here.
Hey, thanks for having me on. It's been a blast. I know we connected there through Instagram, and it's pretty fun to make this a reality.
Yeah, no, I'm excited joining the Acorn Hills family here. I know we talked briefly right before we hit record here. And I'm just kind of gloating about your product, which I definitely want to. We're going to definitely get into it, but overall, like, for the followers here and the listeners, kind of who's Nate Hryn right now, in the golf community, because you got your Acorn Hills blowing up, and from, if I'm not mistaken, you're also, or were a collegiate golfer. So I mean, who's Nate Hryn before we get into the Acorn Hills stuff here?
Yeah, so a little bit about me. I'm freshly 21 years old. Like you said there, I play college golf. I actually just recently graduated in the fall of 2024 here, so I guess I'm a graduate now. Contemplating going back for my master's in the fall, so going back for my final semester of eligibility. So technically, not a college golfer right now. Looking to do that again in the fall in August. But yeah, I'm from a very small town in the middle of PA called Curwensville. It's near State College, Pennsylvania, or Penn State University. And like you said, I'm the founder and owner of Acorn Hills. This is year 4 now of creating an actual sustainable clothing company that I think competes with a lot of the big name clothing companies out there, as far as your big name golf companies. We're doing something pretty cool, and I'm sure we'll get into it, Matthew. But we use seed paper within our clothing that you can actually plant that and plant it in the ground rather than throwing away your plastic price tag, and you actually get wildflowers from that. Like I said, this is year 4, so year 1 we launched and actually got picked up by the Weather Channel and PGA and USA Today, and just kind of been growing exponentially. No pun intended. But it's just truly been a great journey, and it's great to connect with people like yourself in the podcast.
No, yeah, appreciate that, and yeah, definitely we're going to circle back on the tags because it's definitely one of the coolest concepts I've seen, not just in the golf community, but really like in any type of clothing community in general here. Um, but like kind of go back a little bit, I'm guessing the way you get into Acorn Hills and develop this and get into your collegiate golf, I mean, we got to start somewhere. So has golf always been a passion of yours, growing up, or, I know like people like me, I've always enjoyed it, but I didn't really pick it up or get really serious into it till later in my life, probably more towards college, because in high school I was focused on other sports that I imagined one day I could turn professional in, and that clearly never panned out. um, but
Still
so
got time.
how did you get into into golf or anything like that?
Yeah, well, being from a very rural town in PA, golf obviously isn't the premier sport. Football, baseball, you're kind of a big three there. I could say football, baseball, basketball are your big sports, and a lot of it I played growing up. I was a three-sport athlete up until probably like sixth, seventh grade, and baseball kind of being my bread and butter type of sport. I thought I was going to play that in college when I was in eighth grade, and I played golf a little bit with my dad. He played, but he's mid to high handicap starting out. Now he's lower in the years that we played together. But I would go out and play with him, just basically to spend time with him, spend time with my family, my uncle, and I actually realized I was kind of good for being self taught, or at least better than what I thought I was going to be. Starting out, I had pretty good hand eye coordination from baseball, but over time, the two swings kind of collided, right? Um, and I never thought they really would, because I was a kind of a PO, a pitcher only for baseball.
Hmm.
And when I started to hit, I was a horrible hitter because I'd always be stepping out of the box because I would try to be shifting my weight kind of more towards the golf swing. So I thought, well, I really enjoyed golf a lot more. So I quit baseball and played ninth grade golf, and really kind of took it from there and became really an all district player for my 4 years, and broke a couple records in our district, scoring average wise. But something that I go back to is I wasn't an insane player. I didn't know what I was doing. I don't know the golf swing too well. I was all self taught, and I didn't know anything about like AJ, GA, or drive, chip, and putter or anything. So I was really missing a lot of these opportunities. Um, Coming into high school, just because I really didn't know about it, and really not a lot of people in my area knew about it. So coming out of high school, I didn't have a lot of offers to go play college golf. I had a couple here and there, but a school next to kind of like town over called Mount Aloysius, their D3 school. They offered me. They said, "Hey, we love what you're doing. We love your scoring average, and I think you'd make a good fit at this school if you want to come tour it." So I toured it, and the rest is history. I love the school, love the team, and been a part of the team now for 4 years, and going back for my fifth year. But it's truly been a blessing in disguise.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I could sympathize with the baseball swing, being a baseball player too myself. Um, Probably not to your caliber, I would imagine, but I always enjoyed it. And there were times I remember in high school. Again, I wasn't playing to go play in college, so I was playing for fun. So I didn't, you know, get too down on myself when I was in a little bit of a hitting slump due to probably going to the driving range a little too much in between games. But yeah, I could sympathize with that. So you get to college golf, and it's, for the people that maybe do not know, the listeners, what is kind of going on in the world in college golf right now? Like what is your, I guess, your daily routine, as a college golfer?
Yeah, and I think that's for me. Everyone's different. No two people's swings are the same. No two people's playing habits, practice habits, academic habits are the same for that matter. But for me, I was always self-taught. I loved the game a lot, but I also was going to school to go to school. Academics came first. If I got to play golf, it was more of a bonus in my area, and I kind of stuck to my guns on that. So when I would have free time, uh, through my academics. Now, granted, I didn't have a lot of free time. If you knew me in college, I was involved in about 6 or 7 different clubs, sat on a whole bunch of boards, and plus the company that I started my freshman year, which is now Acorn Hills, and plus 21 credits. I really didn't have a lot of free time, so golf became this outlet for me. So as far as a day-to-day thing, I'd wake up from, I don't know, 8 to 4, and I'd have class, from 8 to 4, and then I would have golf practice until dusk. And a lot of times, golf practice until dusk means, you practice until a little bit sunset, and then you practice short game until basically you can't see anything. And then I went back to my dorm, and I started Acorn Hills, so I would work from 8 or 9 at night till 3 or 4 in the morning, and then get back up at 8 o'clock and um, keep buzzing. So it was truly a passion. I think that's why they call it a passion. Is this grind of love? It wasn't just a love. You truly had a passion for it. There were days that I'd wake up on 4 or 5 hours of sleep, and it's like, man, what am I doing out here? There's kids sleeping until noon and 1 o'clock, and here I am, kind of taking the bull by the horns and really trying to grow the company and grow myself, and also trying to keep my grades up and start a couple clubs on campus. So it just truly was a blessing, I think, that I was able to do it all.
Yeah, no, I mean that that's a wild story. So
My head, yeah, it's a miracle my head didn't explode.
yeah,
But it's all good.
but so you've now taken this passion of golf, and you're now taking it to a whole new level outside of your playing days, at least right now. And unless you, like you said, you're going hopefully back for one more year of eligibility here, and you've taken this now brand of Acorn Hills Clothing. You start this up. So I was wondering about this, and I really wanted to save this question for the podcast, I guess. And I guess you're kind of already circling around it. You know, was this always in the back of your mind, or was this like a potential school project that is now turned into reality, or how
Yeah.
did this kind of, now did we navigate through the, you're playing, you're a student athlete and all this, but now you're taking on and building a company from the ground up? Where did the idea essentially come from, or has it always been kind of something you've always wanted, that you had a passion for?
Yeah, I think it comes from especially my hometown roots. Being from rural PA, there's not a lot of golf courses, more so farm towns and feed stores, and just that type of rural living. And I was always perplexed that when I played golf, just kind of the styles that were out there really weren't a lot of good quality of stuff. But also too, when I went to shop for clothes, whether it's going back to school or Christmas shopping or something, I was always kind of perplexed at this idea of clothing, and how there's a lot of companies out there that market this idea of being eco-friendly or doing something good for the environment. Maybe they're not entirely eco-friendly themselves in their production phases, but they try to give back more than what they take. And but I also thought, well, no one's really doing that in clothing, and if they are, it's not the presentation of clothing, as far as the hang tag, as far as the piece of plastic. It's more so the extracurricular, I like to call it, which partner with organizations. So I thought, well, why couldn't I change that, or at least enhance it, the presentation? And that's kind of where seed paper came from. But I tabled that idea during COVID. Went to college, and I thought, well, if I get some time, Maybe I'll try it and try to start something. I had a couple NIL deals coming out of high school that were gear sponsorships for golf, and they would send me some stuff, and it was very nice. They're very nice people, with people that I worked with and companies I worked with. But at the end of the day, I thought, well, I think I might be able to make a little bit something better with some ideas I had in high school with the eco friendliness, and I thought, you know what, if I'm gonna fail, I might as well fail big in college and be surrounded by people that were experts in their field. I had law professors, tax professors, marketing, accounting, just every type of thing that you would need to incubate a small business.
Hmm.
So I had this entrepreneurial class, and I thought, well, I'll make a presentation on it, and see what they thought. And the presentation was great; they loved it. But that's kind of when it became a reality that I thought I'd be. I don't know if in some way or shape or form I thought maybe it would get shut down. People would say like, "Oh, that's stupid" or anything. Um,
Yeah.
but they did, and I thought, well, you know what? If I can kind of market to them, and I feel like they would really tell me the truth on it, what they thought, and rather than sugarcoat it, because they actually know me. Um, I thought, well, you know what? I can go big with this. So I started out 2 products, and then just kind of doubled it every time. I haven't taken a dime from the business myself, but just kind of like you said, the quality speaks for itself. Our customer return rate's a little bit above 75 to 80% all the time, which is awesome. It means the customer's returning at like a rate of 80% over 4 months. So from their first sale. So yeah, so
Wow. That's impressive.
it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm rocking the Q-Zip. Like I've told you, in our DMs and before we start recording, the Q-Zip, the mid green one, I'm loving it. I love, like I said, and like you've been talking about, the quality is there, and you're not spending 150, $100 to get the good quality, which is nice. But I do want to start because you brought it up a couple times, and it's the most like I said, it's the most unique thing I've seen, not only in the golf community, but really in general of just clothing anywhere. Is your tags? I got one here, and with the QR code and everything,
There it
and
is.
yeah, so I get what goes into this as far, I mean, you've explained, how you wanted to get into this, and, it's, we're not throwing these out in the trash anymore. Now we're throwing them in our yards. What goes into like creating this though? Because this seems like it could be challenging, but it's, but it's one of
Yeah,
the coolest
yeah.
concepts ever because, for me, my backyard looks at an ugly, ugly marshland. I mean, so right now I know where my 4 tags are being tossed and buried.
Well, that's just it, right? You said about people throw away their tags, and at the end of the day, I'll get back to the production of seed paper. But at the end of the day, if someone throws away our tag, even if it ends up at a landfill, it'll eventually go into the ground, decompose because of that, the way the paper is, through the paste. And for those that don't know really what seed paper is it's this biodegradable paste that I like to think of it as like paper mache almost type of texture, but when dried, it actually has seeds within it that when dried, it resembles that hardness and texture of like a cardstock or like a paper. And then over time, if that gets wet and you plant it's going to decompose, going to kind of unravel, and you're left with the seeds. Now, the paper that unravels and decomposes is not harmful whatsoever. It's made of recyclable materials itself. But the seeds, there's 6 different blends. I made them 6 different blends from all different types of the United States. So that means that they can be grown wherever, right? Um, there's Catch Fly, Black Eyed Susan, Sweet Asylum, just kind of all those. I don't want to say generic, but really easy to grow type of wildflowers within the tags that makes it almost this idea of look good, feel good, do good. Because with the environment, uh, everyone has an opportunity to do good. And like you said, it's not a polo that's $100 or $120. And I feel like that's what a lot of times eco-friendly brands preach is oh yeah, you're going to do great for the environment, but here's the price. It's going to be super high. I feel like everyone should have an access to helping the environment without breaking the bank. And I think when you do that, you actually start doing this whole change rather than preaching it.
No, yeah, I hear you on that because it just seems like that's, and I don't like to get political in any sense here, but that just almost seems like that's what the narrative has been for quite some time. It's and not just politics, but a lot of different things. We a lot of people will talk the talk, but you're kind of doing now the walk, or essentially we're now going to plant, not walk, and we're going to do good not only for the environment here, um, but we're kind of giving back to the environment through your tags here, and by also buying your great product, which kind of leads me into like my next like kind of question here is, like I got your package now I think a week or so ago,
Yeah.
and so I got the Q zip on now. I have the one polo. I was wearing it the other day. The hat, the quality is outstanding. We've talked about this, as far as different brands, kind of what you're, I wouldn't say like mimicking, but what you're striding towards to be.
Yeah.
And, like we were talking about before we got on the podcast here was, like I've been associated or been reached out to other startup golf companies, and their product it's flashy as far as like the design, but when I would get the actual product, the material was just I can't believe like this is like how do I market this? It
Yeah.
was something that I was struggling to like be proud to represent essentially. And I got your product the other day, and I'm just kind of like in awe. Like I'm like the college student startup, holy crap, this is outstanding material. Like I'll be wearing this all, not just golf, but like work, wherever, Easter. I'm like, this is like something I'll be wearing quite often. I mean, kind of talk about the motivation and like how do you strive to aim for that type of high quality material and kind of in comparison with some of the big names that are already out there in the golf clothing world.
Yeah, I think it all starts with the experience, right? Because the experience, at least in my opinion, everyone talks about customer experience. Well, yeah, everyone's going to have a nice customer experience on your website. Your website's a place that is nice and flashy. But I truly think the experience happens after, like you said, Matt, you open that package and you feel the quality and you really feel the product itself. And that's something I've always wanted to stick to my guns on is, you know, really try to make it the best experience for someone. Because I know for me, when I get to play a lot of different places, playing in college, a lot of nice places that I probably wouldn't get to play otherwise, just because of the prices. And I think, well, if I was someone from my hometown looking at to buy clothing, I wouldn't just from the middle class area that I live in. Disposable income isn't like everyone's a millionaire. Disposable income, um, you might buy yourself an outfit or two a year, and everything else is just kind of what you wore through the years. So I think, well, if you can build a couple of different outfits with my price that's affordable, plus the quality, you're going to be kind of more prone to pass that on and more prone to really do something good with it, rather than kind of saying, "Oh man, this is a great shirt, but I never want to wear it because it was $150," Or I think a lot of times people want to look good as well, and obviously when you look good you're going to feel better about yourself, whether that means saving money on the price, planting the seat tag, or really getting into the mission with us, and when you feel good about that you're more prone to kind of do good, more prone to kind of kindness is contagious. I think the more kind you are, or the more kind you are to yourself, you're more likely to spread that to someone else.
Well, you definitely hit the old adage of, look good, you play good, or at least you'll look good and you think you play good.
Try to play good. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
try to play good. I mean, you definitely get to look good out there, which that's what I'm excited about. And I know scrolling through your website, there's a few other polos I already got in my cart, and the new hat that dropped, which I'm
Yeah, I
excited
got that one
to
on. I got
get.
the weather's
Yeah,
great, great. But
um,
there'll be
you
some
know,
new items too in January. Just I'm trying to. A lot of brands do like a drop every season. I'm trying to do like a drop every other month, or at least it might be a couple less items, but kind of freshen it up every bit. So
yeah.
there'll be
Well,
some new items here soon.
and you mentioned too, like with the price. I mean, again, you go to like a PGA store or Golf Galaxy or wherever people are going to get even like some of these you go to a course. and you want to go get their merch now. Like I have people that I know that make fun of me. Like when I first was going on my in-laws' Myrtle Beach golf trip, and I'm playing courses I've never played before, and of course, they've played them like 100 times. So I'm a sucker for at least hat merch, especially because it's easier for me, and usually it's the cheapest, compared to a polo. But you walk around, you're like trying to convince yourself, yeah, it's okay. I'll spend $112, $125 for that polo,
Yeah.
and then you're like looking, like probably like a couple weeks back, or even maybe a couple hours later, and you're like, why the hell did I buy $115 polo where you could spend that 115 and what almost get three polos? I'm
Yeah.
just ballparking it over at Acorn Hills for the same quality. So I mean that's a huge, like, for me, who's going to help spread your brand. That's definitely a big selling point for I know, especially like if you look at the last few years when people are struggling, unfortunately, with just the basics in life, groceries, gas, etc. Well, if they're going to splurge a little bit and they want to look for golf, it doesn't even have to be necessarily because of golf, but you're looking for, awesome polos with high quality, material, and you're not breaking the bank to do so or take out a loan.
Yeah, true.
Your company is right now, I would say has got to be up there. The top is, you know, out of these different startups up there.
Well, I really appreciate that, Matt. And in all 4 years that we've been in business, you see it every year. In the summertime, all these golf pop ups kind of, or startups kind of pop up, and really they never really last because, like you said, the quality is too cheap, unfortunately. And then also too, the margins they're trying to charge is unreal. Like, for example, I was talking to a company back in the summer. They were charging like $89 for a polo, and it was like pure cotton. Now some people like cotton polos, but I'm not saying $89 for cotton polo is worth it. But unfortunately, they're no longer in business, and I just think that, I don't know. You can't try to market yourself that you're Peter Millar or FootJoy, because there's only one Peter Millar. There's only one FootJoy, and that's kind of something I've always tried to stay away from. Is obviously we use a lot of similar materials, but like I'm not FootJoy. I'm not trying to be FootJoy. I'm not Peter Millar. I'm not trying to be Peter Millar. Um, I'm trying to be Acorn Hills, and I think so far it's working for us here in year 4.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. Kind of hitting the nail on the head when you look at different startups here. And as far as why do some of these startups, especially in the golf world, why do they not last as long? Why do they essentially fail? And you kind of hear them like they want to be the next, or they want to
Yeah,
kind of take down the giants in the golf world. And stride. I think they're trying to stride, take a bigger leap than they should, at least right out the gate. And you're over here, and I think that's the right mentality. Is you don't want to take down Foot, because if it wasn't for FootJoy, Peter Millard is Acorn Hills even here. But you
right.
want to be a part of the game. You don't want to essentially try to take them down, or at least be up there with them right out the chute. It's like, hey, you guys paved the way for me with this awesome material. But hey, you guys are a little pricey right now, but I'm going to try to help others that can't afford your guys' products with my product here, is what I'm kind of getting at.
Yeah, and you're very right in saying that, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be able to do what I do, because it's very true. I don't think a lot of people realizes, at least from the consumer front, how close knit companies are with each other. For example, Holderness and Born. I don't know if you ever heard of them. Um,
I've heard of them, yeah.
yeah, yeah, very good friends with them from this. And it's not that you guys are. I mean, obviously we're competitors, yes, but at the end of the day, you're both trying to do the right thing. I think as long as your heart's in the right place, and you kind of put that do good approach with everything you do, I think there's a lot of opportunity within the community.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I'm gonna kind of circle back a little bit here and ask you from a I guess like a college business standpoint. you're a collegiate golfer, you're a student athlete, and you're now a business owner, have been a business owner. So what challenges do you see? And you just said just turned 21, so very young in your startup career here. Uh, not many people are doing everything all at once, kind of like you're doing. So what kind of challenges do you see on a daily basis from, and not like, and I say challenges not to be, in the negative connotation here. It's, like what daily business challenges are you facing as a student athlete, and that, most people are like, where am I going to get my next meal? As a student athlete, when I was a student, I was trying to figure out how can I explain to my parents that I'm charging their credit card for gas, and you're over here running a
Well,
business.
Matt, it's funny that even on the simplest things, I still have to remind myself. Obviously, we're still very small in size, but still have to remind myself daily. I'm only 21, right? I shouldn't stress over the things that I really can't control, and a lot of that comes down to, supply chain things that are really kind of in time with as you grow, the supply chain and everything grows. But some daily challenges, I think, starting out, time management. I worked all throughout high school, all throughout middle school, and everything, to where I really had to plan my days out, and not so much live by Google Calendar, but at least have an idea of what I was going to do for the day. So I think going into college, I had this time management skill that I don't think a lot of high schoolers had. I was very fortunate to have it. Now, at the time when I was working, you'd think, oh, I don't want to work. All my friends were going out for food, and here I am working an 8-hour shift. So um, now, as I go into college and start the business, to do that, time management was huge. But another challenge too is I think I can work and work at Acorn Hills all night. Like I said, I put a lot of all nighters, and a lot of times there were nights that I would get so much done without a lot of time. Maybe like an hour and get so much done. And there was a lot of nights where I would spend 4 or 5 hours on one thing and really not have an answer for it the morning when I woke up. And you can't view that as a day or as a session wasted. I think that kind of differs from college because you could study for 5 hours, and more often than not, you might do better on a test because of that studying. But I think from a business perspective, I could spend 5 hours and it still might not be the right thing. That's the same way with college golf. So I could spend 5 hours practicing a swing tip that my coach gave me. But if I can't really grasp it too much or really practice the wrong thing, it can kind of show that it really was not beneficial, or, sometimes can hurt. So I guess it's kind of being selective in what you do and what you don't do. And there was a lot of times in college where I had to take a lot of board positions and club positions, and I think looking back now, I probably should have learned to say no. But I think it was good that I did it. Was able to kind of expand because I had that time management skill. So it changes. Every day is an adventure, in more ways than one. I think now that I'm out of college and I'm home for the next couple months, I think I'm now busier than I ever was in college, and I thought I couldn't get any busier when I was in college. So it just keeps going out. So
I wanted to, because you kind of brought up your like golf, swing coach taking a tip. Have you taken anything from your golf routine as far as, just like the mentality or anything that is kind of looped into how you reflected into Acorn Hills, whether it's, just through your work ethic or in the company itself?
yeah, coming out of high school, I never had a lesson until college. So it was all self-taught. And then when I came to college and had my first lesson with my college coach, it was like a learning curve, as weird as it sounds, because I really didn't know how to comprehend that information at a high level. He was talking about angles and swing plans, and I was like, I just kind of swing. I don't know. So it took me a little bit to grasp that. And I think understanding that everyone's chapter 1 and chapter 21 are totally different. You, like you were saying, we were just talking about brands and stuff. It's easy to get in that rut when you're a business owner and you look at someone like FootJoy and think, wow, they're doing all this stuff, and wow, look at their website. But you got to remember, they've been in business for decades now, and they've had teams dedicated to certain projects, and they might be on chapter 100 of their business. But you're chapter 1. Everyone had to start somewhere chapter 1. So I think that's important to realize.
No, yeah, no, it's a good way to look at it. Um, so, for people that haven't gotten the time to look at your, social media, or more importantly, your website, for the listeners, you have an extensive list that continues to grow of podcasters and influencers that are repping the Acorn Hills gear and helping you market it. I can vouch based on the group chat we're all in. It's a great community to be a part of. Was that always your first? Was that the first instinct when you kind of started up, or was that something that you kind of uh, came up with later into the scheme? Now you said you've been in business for about 4 years. Um, how did you get into the let's get some podcasters and influencers involved in this to help us out?
Yeah, and that's the truth too. Is community really drives everything. And when I first started out, everyone says, "Oh, you got to devote all this money to ads and all this money to kind of paid per click things." And it's like, well, I'm just a startup. I don't really have that money. I don't really know that. But then I saw that there's a bunch of people out there trying to get off the ground with their podcast, and I thought, well, why couldn't I join up with them? They might need some guests on their podcast not being too big, or need some guests, or to need someone to help share their stories or something. So within the first year, I started really getting those organic connections where I'd reach out and say, "Hey, I'm Nate." Just kind of like I did with you, Matt. I said, "Hey, I'm Nate. Very nice to meet you. I love your page," because it was truth. It was just personal connection. And I think a lot of times startups or brands in a similar space can kind of lack that. It's like, oh, push a sale, push a sale, push a sale. And yeah, sales, don't get me wrong, sales are what drive a business. But at the end of the day, I want to have that connection. I might have 2,300 followers on my Instagram page, but I think personally connected to about all of them. I've reached out to all of them, and they're not like
Wow.
bot followers or anything like that. And um, I don't know. It's just kind of a really fulfilling thing when you see Instagram do some sort of follower wipe or algorithm switch, and all my followers are organic, so they stay. You see a bunch of brands have the blue check mark or something, and it's like, well, I don't know. It's like pay to play type of thing. And I don't know. It's just for me. I thought, well, why couldn't I kind of connect the people who I connected with and see if they can't connect? Almost like this triangle type thing. And there was different forums out there that cost money to get in. People were charging like $60 or $70 a month to be a part of these big networks. And I thought, well, if they're gonna be a part of my mission, this is why would I ever charge someone that's gonna try to grow themselves? Um, in a positive way. So that's kind of where the Creators Clubhouse, which is an influencer group chat owned by us, but influencers are allowed to collaborate in any way they see. Why couldn't I create that? And a lot of times you see different people in there, like TJ from Basic Bogies, him and the bumbling golfer John. They're on each other's podcast, and I'm sure you'll get hit up by some of those guys to be on their podcast. And some of them have gone out together and played if they're in a similar area. So it's really a sense of community beyond the brand. This kind of at the end of the day, they made relationships that I feel are value to them, not just a one sided thing. The value to me and the brand, but also too they realized in that give back mission.
No, yeah, that's cool. We might have to do a like a Acorn Hills, creator collaboration outing of some sort.
Yeah, it's definitely in the cars. It wasn't as big last year as far as the group, the size of people I had, just because I was launching it. But I think this year I want to kind of maybe have some group Zooms and some group things, because having a mate or a degree in marketing and minoring in accounting, I was able to save a lot of that legwork when it comes to marketing things kind of by myself, and I've worked with a lot of firms kind of within my college realm. I think would be a lot beneficial to creators. And I think also too we could have this sort of like meet and greet type of Zoom. So I think that'd be super cool to try to do.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Uh, so you've now been in Acorn Hills for 4 years. Uh, and I know this is kind of it's a hard. I know this could be a tough question to answer here. Are there any long-term goals for Acorn Hills? I mean, obviously, everybody when you ask questions like this, we want to be successful, we want to grow, and all that. do you have any like out of bounds long-term goals as far as for the company and Acorn Hills in general?
Yeah, it's weird because I think my answer to this is dynamic. It's going to change whenever I'm asked this or the time. But if you would have told me a year ago, or 2 years ago, or 3 years ago that we would be where we are tonight, like today, I would have called you crazy. I launched. When I say 4 years, 3 years of launch, 1 year of research. So when I say research, it's like everything into conservation, and that's kind of how I discovered seed paper. So if you would have told me back then when I was in the research stages that yeah, I'd be working with the Weather Channel or working with USA Today or the PGA, I would have been like, yeah, not me, not a college kid. But I think truthfully putting yourself out there and taking some risk when the time's right, as long as it's appropriate, um, definitely grow from there. But I think long term, getting more retailers, getting more pro shops, maybe even try to get a couple players on tour if I can, but also to really grow the community that which we're growing now. It's as much as my brand as it is your brand. I think for the first couple of years, I never sold on Amazon, but I think this year I'm going to try to integrate onto the Amazon platform. It has been a pain. You know, it's just been brutal with support. Support's been great, but it's been such a brutal thing trying to integrate the two platforms. But um, yeah, I think that's the long term goal is just kind of keep up what I'm doing because I get that question a lot. I haven't taken a dime. Every product rolls into another product. So two products create, 4 or 5 products, and then 5 of those products create the new ones. And pretty soon we're up about 40. I think we're about 44 products. I couldn't tell you. I think about 40. Um, but just kind of over time. And I would love to just keep doubling that and really have a wide range of product selection for everyone. But, just kind of see where it takes us because really, um, we don't have any 5 year plan. We don't have any 10 year plan or something. We try to go evaluate yearly goals. So
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, you brought it up, and I was hesitant to even ask it. You said it would be cool to have maybe a player or two on some pro tour, rep the brand. That was going to be one of my questions. Are we aiming for PGA live? I hope that's not a sensitive subject over in your area, or even like the Corn Ferry, DP World. You know, would be awesome to eventually see that the Acorn Hills logo repped, whether it's on the TV or if you're just at one of these tournaments in your nearby community, that'd be awesome to see. Um,
yeah, that's definitely on the docket for something we want to do. Now we're not quite big enough yet to kind of sponsor outright as far as cash and stuff goes. Some players want a pretty big um, you know
yeah,
chunk of money, but I think on the junior side of things, or at least the smaller side of things, like your Corn Ferry and DP. Yeah, we have some connections there that we can tap into, but it's all within scaling within ourselves. I don't want to grow too big too quick because, like I said, it's just me. I'm a one man show. I run everything from social media to the ads to the website to order fulfilling, and everything. So obviously, growth is great, and I want as many sales and as many people wearing the gear as possible. But just got to keep it within reason here. I'm still 21, like I said, and um, just got to kind of scale with as I get older, as the business gets older. It's just kind of scale that way. You don't want the bottom to
yeah,
fall out.
yeah. No, for sure, I get you on that. Maybe down the road, the college you're playing for, you might be repping the Acorn Hills as a team down the
Yeah,
road.
I actually designed everything this year for us.
Oh, really? Oh, that's
Yeah,
sweet.
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I did
Great.
some hats. I did. I'm going to be doing some polos here for the fall, but you did that. I actually work with another bizarre, not even MPA, Central Arkansas College. I did
Okay.
their stuff. So yeah, so there's a ton of different orgs that I just partnered with that you would never think that I was partnered with, but it's pretty cool to kind of work with those people.
So I guess that kind of maybe leads a little bit into, kind of one of my uh, final questions, getting, close to wrapping up here is, um, in this 4 year journey, I guess maybe even longer going into playing collegiate golf, what's been the biggest good or bad surprise so far for you, as you've developed over the Acorn Hills over the last 4 years?
I think the biggest surprise was definitely that a small town kid like me could have the opportunity to build a company in college and how to have the support. And I think where there's a will, there's a way. Uh, a lot of times you think that this mountain of company creation is the mountain that's only accessible for kind of the higher ups or those with the capital to access it. But that's just simply not true. I think that there's opportunities there that go by everyone's face every day. You just got to kind of change the way you look at things. Um, as far as biggest surprise, even being a marketing major, is definitely the content creation side of things. I'm not a TikToker. I'm not a um, face in front of the camera type of guy. You'll see a lot of our posts. I'm never in any of the shots. I feel like that's kind of something I lack, but I'm just not willing to put myself out there yet. I'm horrible behind the camera or in front of the camera. I'm great behind it, but um, in front of it, I'm horrible. So a big surprise was definitely the strain content creation takes on everything, but also too, you know, I guess another big surprise was just how much people would kind of support the mission and support what I do. People you thought that were never really liked you all that much or never really thought too much of you were some of the first to support you, and vice versa. There's people that I thought, I think they would support me and stuff, and there's kind of been sour grapes. So um, I don't know. It really opens up a lot of things and kind of opens up different perspectives for you.
I could sympathize with the TikTok in front of the camera. So I probably shouldn't even be saying that as a podcaster slash trying to beef up the social media here. That was definitely one of my 2025 goals, though, was to get more in front of the camera and get more creative out of it. You're spot on. It definitely takes a little bit of a strain. Uh,
Yeah,
especially when you even do it and then you're just like, oh crap, I gotta hit send or I gotta hit post now,
yeah.
and I'm over
Well,
here going, what's the perception of me?
yeah, and it's funny because I have so many professional. We work with some professional photographers and stuff that do photo shoots, and I have so many professional images to use, and it's always good to kind of have a reel or like the reel you made. I'm talking about the brand. I love reels like that because it shows kind of this I don't want to say authenticity of the brand because we're all are authentic, but kind of the totally stripped. It wasn't professional, um, lighting or anything. Like I know, you know what I mean. Like you might not have the
Yeah.
equipment a professional photographer has, but I think that there's some value in that to show that at the bare bones, people are still really um, within the mission and really, really grasping onto what I do. But also too, I want to have the professional aspect. So it's definitely a best of both worlds. And I think, if I were to get in front of the camera, it's going to be that bare bones type of thing because I'm not a influencer by any means. So that's why I have the Creators Clubhouse. That's
Well,
content
I
creation.
can definitely say with the reel I posted, and people can go kind of fact check me and go back on my Instagram and other social medias. Like I've mentioned, I've been a part of a couple of different brand ambassador programs that never really panned out, for other brands, obviously. And if you look back at my social media, I never did a reel like that because, like what I mentioned earlier, it was hard for me to get creative and be excited about a product and then kind of market it off for somebody. And it was totally different, like I said, when I got your package and I opened that up, and the first thing that I got, when I opened the box, yeah, I saw the Q zip. I'm a big quarter zip guy, so like that I
Me too.
gravitated right away to. I think I wore it out that night too, probably. Um, but like what I'm kind of getting at is like when you say authenticity, like that was my real. Like for people that don't know, you did not send me a script of any sort. You know, I presented you my idea how I was going to do it, you know, and I kind of gave you the final, hey, thumbs up, thumbs down. If you're thumbs down, I'll rewrite it. I'll figure it out.
No,
No
no, hey, I'm
worries.
telling you, you did
But
great. And like I said, that's
that was all authentic. Like I wasn't bullshitting anything in that reel when I said, you know, for the price, the quality, you know, people out there, especially the golfers, you know, go take a look at Acorn Hills.
yeah, I really appreciate that because, like I said, it's so easy to just kind of go through the motions when you're running the brand. And, it's, people, so many brands pay these influencers crazy amounts of money just to, kind of go through this process of, yeah, the brand's good and all, okay, people like and follow, then be done. And I don't know, I just don't value that as much as something coming from someone like yourself or some of the other content creators we work with is, that authentic approach. I don't know, just kind of, it must just be kind of the small town roots I have, but I just always want to keep that.
Yeah, no, I respect that 100%. You know, so we've talked a lot about Acorn Hills and how you got in there. So I'm just random couple last minute questions here. Not
Yeah.
really Acorn Hills. How's the golf game been so far going into
Well, it's
the
currently 2 degrees here in PA,
yeah.
about 4 or 5, about I don't know, about 3 feet of snow. So it hasn't been very present lately, but it's weird. I played really, really well my sophomore and junior year of college, and I went through a swing change my junior year, leading into my senior year. Completely shaped the ball differently. I used to be like a fade bias player, kind of just baby fade. Now I'm a draw bias player, so it's a completely different feel. So getting used to an extra 5 to 15 yards is great, but also too controlling it.
Yeah.
Now when I'm hitting a 4 iron into a green, and it's drawn over, it's not going to hold as well. So there's been some high rounds, but I think there's an opportunity to go a lot lower than what I ever have before, with that swing. So
Hey, we like to
it's
hear that. We like to hear going low with that podcast, let me tell you.
I hope so. I hope so. I've been plenty high, so it can't get any much higher.
Yeah. So you mentioned you're a baseball player, so you know, being from PA, it's like are Phillies or Pirates?
So I'm a big Red Sox fan.
Oh,
But
okay. That
yeah. So,
okay.
but if I had to choose between Phillies or Pirates, it would definitely be the Pirates. I've been to a ton of games in my time. Now, there's not much to be excited about with the Pirates besides Skeens, but and a couple other players. It is. There's just not. It was funny. My college is right next to probably like a 5 minute drive to the minor league stadium where he was coming up through. So
Okay.
before he was ever on the Pirates, I got to watch him pitch at that. Um, so that was pretty cool. But I guess before he was called up from the Pirates,
Okay.
so it was super cool. But
When you said you were a pitcher, how fast were we throwing here back then?
I think I was a three. I had 3 pitches. I change up, fastball, and I was a knuckleballer. Believe it or not, they're kind of
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Wow, you don't see that in high
Knuckleball.
school.
No, yeah. So I was a knuckleballer, but I think 8th grade, my fastest fastball was like 84, 85. Nothing like bizarre.
So is that why you're a Red Sox fan? You know, RIP, you're a Tim Wakefield fan?
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm a Red Sox fan. I think because growing up, I mean, obviously he was young, but my brother's a big Yankees fan, so
Oh, okay.
it makes for yeah. So I was a big
Can't
Ortiz
like the same
fan.
team your brother likes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's a Steelers fan. I'm actually a Giants fan for football. So again, not much
Oh,
to be
well, I
excited
mean,
for.
I would say that sucks, but I'm a Bears fan, so it's not any better.
Well, hey, misery loves company. Here we are.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Oh,
but I don't know. It's sports are great. I love sports in all different aspects, and I don't watch too much basketball anymore. But I was always kind of a Lakers fan.
okay.
But again, fair weather basketball, fair weather hockey fan. But
Well, fair. So you bring up hockey, so I got to ask then, who are we, who's the last team we were cheering for in hockey? I'm a big
oh, it was
hockey
it,
guy.
it was Penguins. It was the Penguins.
Oh, okay, you're a Penguins guy. Okay.
Yeah, my
Okay.
my roommate in college was a big Devils fan, so eventually I just started becoming a Devils fan, watching the Devils games with him. But um, I don't know, very
Well,
fair weather
they're
hockey
getting a
fan.
little bit better. The Devils, they're slowly piecing
Yeah,
it together. Again,
Yeah,
I'm a Hawks fan, and we're struggling, so I can't
oh
say shit.
geez. I went to school with a bunch of Sabres fans as well. So
Oh, yeah, they're struggling now too, I think so. But they got the Buffalo Bills, so what do they
I
care?
was gonna say, yeah, they're all Bills fans, and Bills
Yeah,
Mafia
they're
is real. I'm telling you, they're
Bills
trouble.
Mafia. Bills Mafia needs to, maybe Acorn Hills needs to get the bright blue and red out there and get Bills
Well,
Mafia involved there.
it's funny. The partnership hasn't been announced yet, but there's a company out of Buffalo we're working with. So, um,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Breaking
So,
breaking news right here. I like it. Sort of.
yeah, you guys heard it first. You guys heard it first. But
There we go.
that's something else you're talking about. When you were shopping around for clothes and stuff, and not worried about the fit and everything. Um, I think, did you use the sizing tool on our website? I think
Yeah,
that's a
I
neat
did.
feature we have.
Yeah, I agree. It's something because that was the other thing because I know we kind of communicated back and forth before I placed my order, and that was kind of like what I was asking. Some of these other companies and brands, they would send me stuff where I would, purchase stuff and try it, and I would put my normal size in. The same size I would walk into a PGA store and buy, a FootJoy Polo or Puma or whatever, and it would come back, and I would, I'm like, oh, hey, this is cool, material, but let's see, let's try it on, and it's like skin tight. I mean, I'm a bigger guy, don't get me wrong, but I'm like, this shouldn't be like Under Armour. This should be the base layer. It should be what's
Yeah.
on the out. And it was kind of off-putting for me with those other companies, which is why it was hard for me to, I mean, unless I can kind of like disguise it where I would wear it more in the springtime because I could wear a vest or something over it. Like I wasn't comfortable rocking skin tight polos in the middle of my
Yeah.
round. But yeah, no other that I've ever seen has that unique tool to kind of help, the consumer figure out their size with your product, and it's unique. A lot of things have been unique about your company and your product, which is, again, I think is really going to help you separate yourself if they haven't been separated already from some of these other, I'll say, competitors for just a lack of a better word.
Yeah, that's just it. I think there's a way of doing things the right way and doing things the fast way. I think some people are just concerned about how much money I can make doing this. And the truth of that's not me. I'm a full-time college student. I'm broke now. I've always been broke. So it's not like much is changing. So might as well do things the right way. So
I can sympathize. I mean, I started this not to make money either. I've been I've loved golf for a long time, we were talking about earlier. You know, my first ever job, come back from college. Yeah, I would work the greens or the grounds crew, I should say, at a local family par three. Shout out Zayfield Shore Golf in Illinois over here. Um, and then I went to college and I would start playing a lot more. And then after college, COVID's really where it took off for me. I had nothing better to do when you get furloughed from your job. And it was I said COVID kind of really, it was bad, but good for me because I got furloughed in May. So I had a 4 month summer vacation. I went and took lessons and my handicap dropped dramatically. I study the game a lot more, kind of like when I used to play football. Now, I do it now. I'm studying and I'm trying to learn and continue to learn. Um, and it, and then last year, I don't have all the answers or and I always say this on all my episodes. Like people take what I say with a grain of salt because I'm not certified or anything. Um, but I feel like I've grown over the last few years, and I have all this wealth of knowledge that my opinion, and I'm just keeping it here. So I was like, I used to have other podcasts, and I missed doing it. Um, so I was like, I'm going to start this up myself and just kind of see where it takes me. If it takes me to, these guys like the Foreplay, Bob Does Sports, awesome. If it still takes me to the local course down the street and I'm still paying $30 because I'm a nobody, I'm fine with that too. Again, I'm doing something I enjoy doing though. And I tell you, that's probably you with Acorn Hills. You're doing something that you enjoy, uh, whether it's making you gazillion dollars or whatever.
Yeah, the best. I mean, Tony, the best feeling in the world is when you have no connection to the person, and you see them wearing your gear. You know, I've been on trips. I've been kind of different places where I'll see a polo. I like to say polo out in the wild, or a piece of clothing out in the wild. That I have no connection to the person, and I just kind of walk up to him and play stupid and be like, "Oh, where'd you get that?" Um, and just kind of wait for them to see what they say, and then kind of like it's like you're like yeah, I made it, I designed it, so it's like
Yeah.
that's
And
pretty
then
pretty
they're in
cool. That's
shock
such
and
cool
awe.
stuff. Yeah, it's like my party trick.
Hey, Nate, I appreciate you joining the podcast. Again, I'm appreciative you let me be a part of the Acorn Hills family. Like I said, I'm definitely this year excited to help market your product alongside marketing off the That's Too Bad podcast. I think it's going to be a great partnership here moving forward. For those who don't know, check out the my discount code in my social media. If you don't, it's right. Yeah, I'll give it to you here right now. It's T2B 15. Again, that's T2B 15. Nate, again, appreciate everything. You're doing great things, not only in the game of golf, but in the clothing community, and even in the environment. We look forward to seeing how big you're going to grow here. And, we're going to definitely have you on, definitely more podcasts down the road here. Is there anything, though, before we sign off here that you want to let the viewers, listeners know last second here?
Yeah, I mean, if you're not following us already on Instagram, give us a follow. It's at acorn.hills. Feel free to shoot us the message. It's going to be me on the other end. It's not going to be some automated chat bot or marketing firm or anyone. It's me. So feel free to tell me you listened to the episode, and I would love to chat with you. And if you want to check us out online, it's www.acornhillsco.com. But yeah, Matt, it's been an honor. I really, really appreciate you kind of being a part of the brand and speaking positively about it, and just kind of validating, kind of why we reached out to you in the first place. I saw your page and loved your style, and I thought, this would be a great fit.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I look forward to, like I said, continuing growing the brand, and we can't wait to see what this brings next for you and Acorn Hills and everything else. So we appreciate your time, and we're definitely going to stay in touch.
Likewise, Matt. Thank you.
Powered by Riverside.
That's